Hello and welcome to The Main Straight, the official F1 in Schools podcast. Welcome back to another episode. This is episode 9, titled Reunited. I'll explain a little bit why in just a moment. If you're new to this podcast, then let me introduce myself. I'm Tom Deacon, your host, and I'll be taking you through all that we have in store. So, what can you expect from this episode and some of the previous episodes? Well, I get on a guest to talk about the F1 in Schools competition. And from these guests, you'll be able to extract some absolutely vital information that will help you in your journey. Or at least I'd like to think you can. For example, on previous episodes, if you haven't checked it out, we had Andrew Brown, the head of R&D at Aston Martin, come and join us on this show. And can I just take this opportunity to say how good are Aston Martin this year in the actual F1? Incredible. But there are more episodes. For example, Gary Anderson, the renowned race car designer. You can check out all that they have to say, and hopefully it will help you and give you some absolute nuggets and gold that you can use in the competition. So today's episode, I welcome former competitors, Team Unity, to the show. And that's why it's called Reunited, because they're a team that are no longer together, that have been reunited. Okay, I didn't need to explain that, but I'm glad I did so. Also, on today's episode, I'll be bringing you the news from around the world, and we will have a special guest on to help me with that. I can't wait to, there were surprises. I hate surprises. I'll just tell you, it is the founder and chairman, Andrew Denford. He'll be joining me a little bit later on. So here's something that we do want you to know, that F1 in Schools creates careers in an incredible array of industries, and that is why we've got Team Unity on. They competed in 2017 at the World Finals in Malaysia and 2018 World Finals in Singapore. And they illustrated that different strengths and individual passions make for the strongest of teams. And they've all gone on to do a diverse range of jobs, which I'm sure they will tell us about in just a moment. So can I take this opportunity to get you to make sure that you are following us, subscribe to the podcast, and listen, guys, we love to hear from you. So make sure that you send us some of your comments, maybe some feedback of what you're enjoying about this podcast at F1 in Schools HQ. So without further ado, let's get on our guests. They are consisting of Sam Chapman, Michael Farrell, Aaron Morris, and Lucy Brooks. So let's welcome them to the show. Team Unity, welcome to the podcast. I'll start with you, Lucy, as you are the team manager. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Tom. How are you?
Very well indeed. It feels like four mates are just having a little chat right now, and I feel part of this team because I've got to know you over the last few years. But you were team manager of Team Unity, is that right?
I was, yeah.
Okay, and can you please introduce your team to the podcast?
So we've got Sam, we've got Michael and Aaron, and obviously myself. Yeah, we were part of Unity. We competed in 2017 and the 2018 World Finals, and we were the 2018 UK national champs.
It feels weird if I clap you now, but congratulations again. 2018 national champions. It feels beautiful to clap and applaud, and I'm sure it still sounds great to hear it. But Lucy, so you were the team manager, and I'm going to break tradition here because people listening right now want to know, you did all of that. What are you doing right now? So let's start there. Lucy, what are you doing right now?
But I don't think I've really gone down the stereotypical route for an F1 in Schools alumni. I've just finished my Masters in Sport and Exercise Physiology, and I have just received my first job as a secondary physical education teacher.
Oh, congratulations. I got on well with my PE teachers, so I'm fine. But a lot of people, they found that they didn't like their PE teachers because it made them do physical, activities and like run about, and that was quite scary. But congratulations on that, Lucy. I'll go to you, Michael. Michael, welcome to the pod. What are you doing right now?
Yeah, hi Tom. So I've just graduated, finishing my last exams of an engineering degree last week, and then I've got 2 months, and I'll be going into a graduate motorsport aerodynamicist role.
Wow. That is awesome. So definitely you can see that correlation to F1 in Schools. What about you, Sam? What's going on in your world right now?
Yeah, so similarly to Michael, I was doing a mechanical engineering degree, so I'm on a master's there. But last year I took out of university and I went to work for Williams Advanced Engineering. So I was a vehicle integration engineer there, and then so I got one more year of uni next year, and I'll be going back there again afterwards. So living in Oxford rather than sunny Newcastle.
Sunny Newcastle. I love it. Giving us the geographical of where you are. And I haven't seen this team member from Unity since 2021 when we all hosted the World Finals. And that's Aaron Morris. Aaron, how are you doing? What are you up to at the moment?
Very well, thanks. So currently in Durham, graduated from my university studying computer science last year. And since then, just been working on a little AI tech startup with my partner. So doing that.
Okay, so basically just going into the world of business and startups. Is it kind of similar, just refreshing your memory back to F1 in schools when you start something from scratch? Is it kind of like that? You learnt those skills to do right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just 2 weeks ago, we were pitching to VCs. So in terms of if you want to raise some money and raise investment for your business. So we were pitching to VCs in Google. And it was literally, it was shocking how similar it was to a pit display. We printed off our pitch decks or our portfolio onto a big banner. We had one of these massive roll-up banners as well. And it's just talking to people. So it's actually crazy how similar it is.
Did you wear your Team Unity identity, like your jacket at all? No?
We actually decided not to.
Okay.
So unfortunately not. I think they might have gotten a little bit confused by the Unity branding. So yeah.
Oh, well, listen, Aaron, I want to delve into that a little bit more, but let's go back then. I mean, because Lucy's already mentioned about 2017, making it to the World Finals, and in 2018 and becoming UK national champions. So let's go there, Lucy. Let's take you all the way back so we can see, or people listening can see that progression to where you guys are now. What brought you together to start competing in F1 in schools?
So it was actually quite a nice one. In our old school, in our secondary school, we did this activities week. And one of the days we had to do an engineering day. And it was just me and Michael on the same little group. And our electronics teacher, Mrs. Glover, was like, "Oh, you all really work together. Have you never thought about doing F1 in schools?" And then we started with the Bloodhound competition, which was back in the day. So we did Bloodhound, then we all progressed together through F1 in schools. And then, we probably did it for about 5-6 years. And then kind of got the rhythm a bit and then became the force to be reckoned with, I would say.
It does require a certain amount of confidence when you are competing in F1 in schools, and you four have that in abundance. But what was it that made you really kind of go, I think we've got a chance here at competing and being successful?
I think how well we get on as a team really did help. We were all friends outside of the team. Massive help. We all had a real love of F1. Again, super helpful within the whole thing. And I think we just really gelled as that one team. And if you don't have good teamwork skills, you're really not going to succeed in the competition.
Okay, so you were the team manager. You look at your team. You've got Sam, you've got Aaron, you've got Michael. How did you utilize their skills? And do you remember what specifically, I guess that they're kind of superpower. What was that, Lucy?
Yeah, each one is just so special to the team. Aaron, he's incredible when it comes to graphics and thinking outside the box. Some of the stuff that he thinks of, it's just wow, no one is going to think of something like that. And Sam and Michael just have a clear passion for engineering, and it did come across in all the work that they did. The different iterations of cars they would do and how long they would spend doing certain things. You could see they did have a clear passion, so it was lovely.
Yeah, Michael, is that true? Is Lucy telling the truth on this podcast?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. When we first started competing, I was sort of the marketing manager of the team, I guess. So when I first started, I didn't really actually have that much interest in sort of Formula One or engineering. It was actually the competition, F1 schools, that actually showed me that side of engineering, how exciting it can be and how exciting F1 can be. So I sort of second year competing, I then moved across and joined Sam on the engineering side. And that's sort of where the engineering journey began. So
Yes, you found that passion. Aaron, you were the graphics wizard. I don't know if that was the technical term used by Lucy, but you would be able to think outside the box. Is that what excited you about the competition?
If I'm honest, I actually can't remember why I started specifically. I know that just one day I wasn't doing it, and then it was taking up all of my time. So I couldn't tell you exactly why, but I know the reason I continued is because, I mean, first of all, definitely just such a good group of people to work with. And I kid you not, I've done lots of uni projects since, and I wish I could just work with this team of people, because it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder with other people for some reason. I don't know. So yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons why I continued.
Oh, that's praise indeed. I'm sure lots of people listening will be thinking, oh, I really like my team. But going out into the, I guess I'm going to say real world, the real life of you get paid to do a job. It is quite challenging when you work with other teams. Why is it then that Unity, when you were working with them, Aaron, that it just gels and you were just in your happy place?
I think one of the reasons why is because we had a very specific kind of common goal that I think we all wanted to achieve. With F1 in schools, it's nice and structured. You know, you've got your regionals, nationals, world finals. There's always like the goal, and I think we were quite good at distributing tasks among ourselves and knowing everybody was very independent, and you don't have to handhold anybody or make sure that they did stuff on time. I mean, sometimes. I mean, Michael did a lot of that. Michael as well. He did a lot of telling people off, and so did Lucy. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of we worked in that way.
Yeah. Sam, taking you back then to that first year you competed, you made it to the World Finals in Malaysia. I'm looking at the data in front of me back in 2017, Kuala Lumpur. Hyperdrive were your champions, and then you had another combined team of Australians and Germans, and then another German team finishing third place. But Hyperdrive, what do you remember about that 2017 World Final, Sam?
I think it was surprising going around each different team and seeing. I mean, you can tell the different. You can almost predict what country each team is from by their car and their pit display, and it's like you can tell that obviously they've gone to the same regionals and the same nationals all together, and they're all mingling with each other and learning how they design the car. Whereas all the people in the UK are doing the same thing, and then Germany, and I do think the cars for sure and the graphic design and everything are very distinct, and it was sort of intimidating going there and seeing. Yeah, I mean, Australia are famously extremely good at F1 in schools, and seeing them there with their cars and looking at ours being completely different. And then, I don't know, like, I mean, they always manage to get big sponsors as well, whereas we were getting like local taxi companies and things to sponsor us. It was intimidating, but I'd say it was pretty good company to be in. So you turn up and everyone's interested in the same sort of thing. And obviously, if you're at the World Finals, everyone's been putting hours of their life in, days a week, or going into schools. So
I imagine, Sam, it's like it's a comparison. You're just looking at what everyone else is doing. Did you have that sort of disappointment? Oh, we should have done that. Or did you have no, I'm really happy that the taxi sponsorship that we got has helped us get here, and we're proud of this thing. Do you remember that of 2017? I want to move on and talk about 2018 and what you did differently, but that first year, you've got into this competition, you're loving it. Aaron's mentioned how well you worked as a team. Did you have that constantly throughout the World Finals? Like, we got to be so proud of what we've achieved.
I suppose we went into the first World Finals being aware that we wanted to go again to the next World Finals. So our first one, we went as a collaboration team. So we finished third in the UK. So we collaborated with a different team, but knew that left us the opportunity to go back the following year if we were lucky enough. So every competition was a learning experience, I think. And we went into the first one, obviously very happy with what we'd done, but ready to learn a lot as well. So going around looking at lots of different pit displays and cars, and like we'd done everything that we could, but we knew there was still room for improvement. And then for the second year, when we went in 2018, I think we did improve.
All right. Okay. So let's set the scene then. You've done 2017, had an incredible trip away to Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. Michael, you were cracking the whip. That's the phrase I'm going to use, Aaron's words. So you're cracking the whip. You come away as a whole team. You collectively decide what we're going to do differently. What did you pinpoint? How did you change and develop and grow for 2018?
Yeah, so like Sam said, when you're at World Finals, you can look around all the different displays and you get to see so many new ideas that you've not thought of before, ideas that other teams, other countries have sort of formulated. And so a lot of it was stealing those ideas, for want of a better phrase, and trying to be sort of inspired and learning from sort of all the amazing teams that were out in Kuala Lumpur with us. It was then a case of we knew we'd came third at the UK Nationals in 2017. We wanted to win it in 2018 as well. So that was a big sort of motivation to try and sort of put all the time we possibly could into smashing it.
And was there anything specific that you had to just change the way that you worked as a team? I'm sort of thinking of that one thing that you would say, oh, this is what we decided we have to do differently.
I think a lot of it was working out how the marks were distributed. So different sections are weighted with different weights. And so when at the end of the 2017 season, we had our scorecards and we could see where which particular areas we needed more work. I think Sam especially on the sort of card design front, he completely changed the card design, a bit of a wizard on CAD, and sort of came up with all these new concepts, which I think made a big difference, especially when we went to Singapore.
All right then, Sam, pinpoint that, break it down for us. You were the whiz on CAD. What did you do differently?
I think it was a totally different mindset going into it. So in the past, I think you could compare each of the cards from the first few years of F1 in schools, and you'd see that they were very similar, and it was just sort of like iterations of each other. But then going into the World Finals, it was like we had help from Nissan, and they basically just said, if you finish a car design, send it to us and we'll make it. And then, so I think for that World Finals, we had 24 completely different designs that we were trying to test. And I think a ground up rebuild was pretty important, because you can have a design and a philosophy, and then small tweaks to that are going to make some difference. Yes, but sometimes similar to like Mercedes this year, they've gone a completely ground up and changed the car again, and you can see that's already making a difference. So they've been working on one car for a year, and it's got better than where it was, but starting completely afresh is making a big difference. I think that's sort of similar to what we did. I think other than car design, I think something we changed massively was graphically. So while we were in Malaysia, we sort of realized that we didn't stand out as much as other teams, and I think standing out is quite an important thing in F1 in school. So that if the judges remember you for a certain reason, then I think that's important. So Malaysia, we were pretty much a black and white team. So in the past we'd been like blue, so like blue ties and a white shirt. And then for Singapore, we had 10 different colors in our logo, and everything was 10 colors. So we had the most hideous ties ever for the award ceremony, like 10 colors on them. Ridiculous. But I think Crofty commented on them a lot. He ended up, he was walking around the market in Singapore, and he saw a suit that was 10 different colors, and he took a picture of it to come and show us. So it reminded him of us. So I think that proved that what we did was worthwhile.
Oh, that's brilliant. That sort of stood out and made you separate from the other teams. Lucy, what did you take from 2017 to 2018 in the team leadership?
I would say pretty much following on from like Sam, like it was a case of you come from the UK, it's like big fish, small pond. Once you get the World Finals, like, yeah, we came top 3 in the UK, but that jump from nationals to worlds is significantly higher than probably we all expected going from 2017 to 2018. So I feel like 2017 did really set us up for, we do need a change. We did pretty much fully reevaluate what Unity was about and what can we do completely differently to stand out more. And comparing it to 2018, and we fully did. Everything about the way the full project was, from regionals all the way through to worlds, like the progression after each stage was just like immense. So yeah.
I mean, I haven't competed in F1 in schools, but say I come up with an idea as a team, and I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, and you think, yeah, we've got this. You know, Sam has engineered a car in 2017. He's like, I'm really confident with this. And then all of your ideas just get kind of, what you're basically saying is like, let's tear this up and let's start again. How easy is that to do, and how easy it is to sort of let go of things? I mean, you said, Sam, there that there was 24 different designs that you needed to check. So how do you get better at just going, hey, it's not working, let's, you leave your ego out of it? How easy is that?
It's quite hard, because I don't know if anyone else can remember this, but our regionals, after we had the complete rebrand, we didn't actually come first at the regionals, if I'm correct. We actually came third at that regional final. So at first it was like, oh, have we actually done all this for the right reasons? Like, we got our marks back, and yeah, we probably could all admit we were extremely underprepared for that regionals. We did nearly not get through to the national finals, so that was quite a reality check in some ways, that have we done this for the right reasons? But once we had a look at where Mark's schemes and we're like, oh no, we are on the right track. It's just the few little bits that we have tinkered along the way. We haven't quite got them right yet. But once you get those little bits sorted, then a complete rebrand and a complete reassessment of what we did was needed.
I completely forgot about the a lot of that actually. The regional coming third, the rebrand.
I remember Ian said to her, "He's now didn't get through, you know." And I was like, "Oh."
Which is like mad when you think about it, because you feel confident in your ability. You've had that experience for 2017. You're like, hey, regionals is coming around again. We've changed some things, but we still feel confident. Was that kind of like a refresher of like, hey, we need to even work harder? Or, how do you not lose that belief that we've got something good here?
I think the problem with that regionals was our teacher had just had a baby. So suddenly the sort of consistent, like the person who'd been there for years, even before we were competing, who knew the ins and outs of F1 in schools, wasn't there to help us, like especially the car manufacturer. So we sort of, like, I think we understood everything, but she was there to help a lot of the way. And then going into that one, it was completely, like, we realized what we did wrong. So it was decals were held on with Pritt stick, which we thought we'd done in the past, but it didn't work when we did it by ourselves. So I think that did help the Worlds though, and it gave us like an element of independence. It was we have to work everything out for ourselves, and I think that meant that we had a more in-depth knowledge of everything, and then the judges can always tell when that's the case and when there's hand-holding from a teacher.
Now that's really interesting, because obviously F1 in schools is led by the teachers to help you and guide you, but when you go into that room by yourself and you chat to the judges, you've got to know it exactly as you said there, Sam. You need to know how these things work, and then actually put it into application and apply it. And a lot of teams that I've noticed find some sort of adversity. Our CNC router, everything broke a week before, and they've had to like find a solution to that problem. Is that something you noticed, Aaron? I mean, you were coming up with lots of ideas a lot of the times and dealing with adversity.
To be honest, I think it was less so. I mean, with the stuff that I did on the graphics and any like tech stuff, it's all pretty straightforward. Like, unless your computer, like every single person on the team's computer breaks, like you're fine. But I do remember there were a couple of times, like Sam was talking about, with the finer details of like manufacturing and finishing the car. Like, I'm pretty sure we had some we had some issues where the cars mysteriously broke. Or were dropped, or would have like some dust land on them and it would mess up the paint job or all of this sort of stuff. And then we had to figure out, okay, well, can we salvage this part and then add it to this one? And, if we had made 5 and we needed 3, which are the top 3 that we can take and which ones can we disregard and not spend time on? So there was a lot of that kind of optimization, if I remember correct.
Going into one of the world finals, it was, we'd printed off all the decals, and then we were trying to save money on like the spray paint and then the clear lacquer that went over the top, and we ended up getting it from Poundland and put these decals on and then sprayed like we'd probably make about 10 cars going into it, and then chose the top 3, and we'd sprayed half of them with this clear lacquer. And then I look back at the start of the queue and all of the ink's dripping down from all of these logos. It was just like half of the cars were written off there and then because of finishing. It was just like not to mention when Lucy dropped paintbrushes on them as well. So it was
that's because the cleaner came and scared me when I was sat painting the front wings. The cleaner came in, I got the fright of my life and dropped the paintbrush on the car.
That's amazing. But I feel like everyone could be, just remembering with you and going, I'm sure lots of people have had these moments where things haven't gone according to plan, but you got through it. You worked as a team. Michael, what do you remember those challenging moments?
Yeah, the one that sticks out for me was before we were flying out to Malaysia, and we'd been in contact with the uniform company for 3 months, and they had our design for about 3 months. They knew exactly when we were flying, and I was calling them up sort of every day for 2 weeks before we were setting off, and it was the day before we were supposed to be flying, and we still hadn't seen these uniforms. So I called up the uniform supplier and said, "Hey, we're flying tomorrow. Can we come pick them up?" And they hadn't even started making them. So these uniforms that we needed for nearly 2 weeks out in Malaysia were getting made about 5 hours, 6 hours to our flight, and delivered to our teacher's house at 1 a.m. or something in the morning. So everything takes much longer than you think, and even if you think you're doing a lot of chasing, it's good to chase it a little more.
Good to chase a bit more. I was going to get, what was your one bit of advice, Michael? It's good to chase a bit more. I like that as a quote. All right, so you've competed in 2018. What did you take from that? And were you better equipped for the World Finals, but did you feel more confident in everything you'd achieved compared to the previous World Finals?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Lucy said at the start, we'd been competing since, I think it was 2014, 2015. So we'd been competing for a good few years. And so when we arrived in Singapore, that was our final sort of hurrah. It was our final sort of outing as a team. And I think we did feel confident. We felt ready, and we felt, I think, that we'd realised, I think, at that point, quite sentimentally, how far we'd come and sort of how much progress we'd made since our first competitions. So it was a good experience, basically, to sort of finish off our skills journey, I guess.
Yeah, and in terms of that knowledge you'd learned, Aaron, I mean, how would everything change from you from 2017 to 2018?
I think one of the benefits with, well, one of the I guess facts of F1 in schools for me is that just time in the competition is the number one factor, because at the point where we go from 27 to 18, we've now got 3-4 years worth of very specific niche F1 in schools knowledge that we know. And I think, 2018, like Sam says, he completely flipped his mentality and was like, okay, how can we just test a bunch and, disregard previous ideas, things that we thought that we knew, can we test it differently, try different things? But then at the same time, build on top of the kind of like facts that we have learned, which is that, the mark scheme is very important. Make sure that you follow the mark scheme correctly and pay appropriate amounts of time to each of those sections. You don't have to strive for 100% in every one of those if it only is worth 5%. So I think it was kind of just learning a lot of those things and then building on that. And we knew that 2018 was going to be our last year, so we wanted to just put everything into it that we could.
Singapore is the world final destination this year for F1 in schools. What's that one thing that you took away from that competition for you personally, Aaron? I mean, did you grow as a person? Did you find yourself when you were traveling in Singapore? I mean, just give me that, because I know you're a very reflective person, and what that's led on for you to do in your career and your life right now with your startup. But is there something you took away from Singapore?
Yeah, absolutely. So both Malaysia and Singapore, I mean, the key thing genuinely is just talk to people. Like we made so many friends, and especially from Singapore, like we were playing all sorts of like games with people from different nationalities and learning about people, and not for the sake of learning about people, but just because they were cool. And like some of those people I still genuinely keep in touch with, like every month or so. Like we shoot a couple of messages, see how they're doing, and that's by far, because when you reach the world finals level, everybody's prepared as much as they can. It's interesting because it's so long and everybody's kind of there to have fun. There's a complete lack of animosity or competitive mindset, is how I would say. At nationals and regionals, there's much more of like, oh, we don't want to talk to the other teams. But at Worlds, everybody's like, it's fine. We made it. This is the final destination. If we come first or third, it doesn't make that crazy amount of difference. And I think as a result, it's just really easy to be able to go talk to people, chat, and make actual friends.
Sam, is that what you would take from Singapore as well?
Yeah, I think so. I also think, like, just on a personal level for me, I think, like, confidence grew massively. So, like, obviously, you need to talk a lot when you're in F1 schools, and there's people coming over all the time, and, like, lots of them are judges, but then, as well, there's industry professionals that are coming around and you're talking. But I think that's always something I used to struggle with. But then doing F1 in schools, like, I knew it inside out. So I knew if they asked me a question, I would know the right answer. And I think that's something that I've taken forwards as well. So I think, like, preparation in, like, even job interviews and stuff, it's, would you be able to prepare this for us? And normally that would have been intimidating, but if I know it inside out, then I'm not worried about any question that they're going to ask, and that fills with confidence now.
What about you, Lucy?
I think the whole experience, like Aaron said, you're in a room with people at World Finals who you're all in the same boat. You've all pretty much had the same path. Yeah, there might have been a few like curveballs thrown in, but you're surrounded by people with extremely similar interests. You've all got the same common goal, and for personally, you like Sam said, your personal growth throughout the competition. Like if you compare each and every one of us here from 2014 to like 2018, like we've all had such a large personal growth. Even me and Aaron were really confident back in 2014, but our confidence, I would still say, for the pair of us has still increased throughout the full competition. So it's not just if you're a quiet person, you'll come out your shell. Like even if you already had that level of confidence, you know how to put your confidence across in a different way, which was quite nice. So yeah.
And what about you, Michael?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's taught. I think Sam mentioned there sort of this sort of preparing for job interviews and things like that. The skills that F1 in schools teaches you makes such a huge difference when doing that sort of thing. And I completely agree with Sam where he says if you know what you're talking about, you can be confident. And so it's quite nice, or it's a very, very sort of useful skill to sort of have that confidence but to have that confidence because you know your stuff.
Well, that's excellent. And I know, Mike, that from working with you from the last World Finals and a few nationals up and down the country, I know that you have been having an extensive sort of look on after you stopped competing in F1 in schools. So I'm going to ask you actually now and Sam about the regulations because they have been constantly changing. They've just been updated. What have you noticed compared for your car that you had, say, 2018, 2017, and we know how much the Poundland experience affected your car. But what have you noticed from the cars back then that you were designing and competing with to what they look like now?
Yeah, the rules have changed massively since we've changed. I think there's been maybe 2 major sets of rule changes, I guess, and there's been lots of tweaks along the way. And it's going to be really exciting this World Finals with the brand new regulations. I know you talked about it on the podcast there several times before. It's going to be really exciting to see what the teams come up with. And also, I mean, me and Sam have we were scrutineering at the UK Nationals back in January, I think it was. We've sort of done some sort of punditry on the cars at other events. And the cars do start to converge towards sort of similar trends and similar designs. And it'll be interesting to see if that does happen with this new set of regulations and also whether how they will converge if they did. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, I definitely got to see the new Halo regulation when I was in Saudi Arabia for the national final. But Sam, anything that stands out for you in terms of those changes?
I mean, I think immediately including a Halo is a completely different design philosophy. So I think implementing that will be interesting because obviously it's being used for the deceleration system. So it is something that the teams have to get right. I think it has to be something like 36 mil off the ground, and if it's not that, I don't know what the what F1 schools are going to do about it because if you can't stop the car, you can't stop the car. So it's a lot that teams are going to have to think about in advance. I think a lot of things are changing to make them bigger. I think they're longer. I think they're wider, which means they're going to be heavier. So I think that's going to be something lots of teams are going to have to focus on. I think all the cars are going to look totally different for the first few years until someone works it out and gets it bang on, and then I think they're going to trend in that direction.
Michael, 2-part question. What did you take and still enjoying about being part of the F1 in schools and the presenting side? And also, final thing you would like to give as a tip to anyone listening, especially for the World Finals or even if they're competing in regionals or nationals?
Yeah, on the sort of punditry side, I think the thing that always strikes me is how confident and how impressive all the teams are. And I sort of look at these teams and I think I don't remember us being that sort of confident and being able to talk that well when we were competing. And so it's really nice to sort of stand up there and sort of speak to these teams who are amazing. They're doing amazing stuff. In terms of piece of advice, I think for me a big thing is you can get so many different experiences and opportunities out of F1 schools, which will help you in future life when it comes to university, apprenticeships, going and getting a job. And I think it's good to make sure you take note of everything you've done and everything you've sort of achieved. It's easy to forget little things which are still sort of good evidence and sort of good demonstrations of what you've managed to achieve. And it's something that does set you apart. So make sure you really sort of have that F1 in skills competitor all over everything you apply for and things like that.
Sam, just quickly, when we have been at Nationals, you've looked at teams' portfolios and very quickly identified things that they may have missed or have included. So I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but what is that one thing for the teams to remember, whatever level that they're competing at in F1 in schools?
I would say probably designing a car to the regulations is only half of the job, and I think actually manufacturing it and double checking that it still matches those regulations is something that a lot of teams miss, and I think it's something that's going to be especially important at this World Finals and the new design.
Lucy, final thoughts from you?
I would say the cohesion of the team. Like, if you come across as a team who you don't look like you get on and you have that bit of animosity between you aren't really, you're not going to succeed as a team. I think definitely become closer as a team, do stuff outside as a team, and overall that will impact the full competition.
Amazing. And finally, Aaron.
I guess I remember that when I was doing it, I had a bit of an ongoing battle in my head of, should I be spending more time on my studies than F1 in school? And to be honest, I'm so glad it went the way that it did, because everything that I've done and learned has been useful. One, I guess, important tip is to really leverage everything that you've done. So I used F1 in schools for every single university application. Like even now, because throughout our time, I think we calculated we raised something like 70,000 of sponsorship. Even now, when I'm trying to do what I'm doing now with investment, that's something I can actually point to and be like, oh, the way that you actually go about raising money is just calling people and having conversations with them. So yeah, I'd say really leverage everything that you've learned and done.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Unity. I've taken up a lot of your time, but I really, really appreciate it. And I'm sure that everybody listening has appreciated some real gems from you as a team. And you can see that you're all definitely mates still, which is good. All of you are wearing white except for Sam. So you didn't obviously get that email, Sam, but you know what? Thinking outside the box, I like it, Sam. Team Unity, an absolute pleasure to chat to you. Speak to you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Now, I promised you the news, and I am going to bring it to you in style. And I'm not the only one, because I'm joined by the founder and chairman of F1 in Schools, is Andrew Denford. Andrew, welcome to the news section and the Main Straight podcast.
Hi, Tom. Good to be back. It's been a while since the first episode, and seems to be going quite well, building up quite a lot of interest.
Yeah, quite well. I'll take that. It's always building, and that's why we get everyone involved as much as we can on the socials. But I looked at the news, Andrew, and I thought to myself, what better way than to get you on for this? Because there's a lot of news to get into, isn't there?
Yeah, it's been a crazy month, really, towards the end of May and into June. And throughout June, it's just getting more and more busy as we go through this season before we wrap up and start our World Finals.
Well, I don't know how you do it, though, Andrew, because you look so fresh. You've always got a smile on your face. And we were in Saudi Arabia, which was incredible for their first ever national finals. It was breathtaking, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was absolutely outstanding. I mean, incredible event put on to the highest of standards that you'd expect in Saudi. We had 16 teams, the first ever F1 in Schools national final, and 68% of the entries were girls. The teams were superb. They'd all actually designed and developed cars to our new 2023 World Final rules and regulations. And believe it or not, there was some really, first time out, some really great results on scrutineering. We had 16 international judges there. We had 4 from the F1 in Schools team present throughout. Incredible event, and it was finalised by a really professional awards ceremony, and with the chief exec of ITRA that hosted the event, and he crowned the national champions. So they were Shaheen from Dhahran, and they'll be heading to Singapore. Fantastic team. We're looking forward to seeing what they can show us when they make it out to the World Finals. Second place was Oryx Racing, and Abia Racing were third place. And Tom, you had the joy of meeting them all. I think you saw the excitement, didn't you?
Oh, I mean, the thing is, Andrew, and people listening will know this, when you've got an award ceremony, normally I have a chat to the winners, but there was no way Shaheen had any time for that. They were dancing around, celebrating what was beautiful with the other teams as well. and Abea were fantastic. They all stood out, all of the 16 teams, but it was such a beautiful moment, the first ever Saudi Arabian national finals, and for them to all celebrate as joyfully as they did. I think they're going to be definitely ones to watch for the World Finals in Singapore, and that's where they'll be heading to now. And it didn't stop there though. The fun, Andrew, afterwards, all the supercars that drove round the IFRA building were incredible. It was a real spectacle. I don't know if you caught some of that, and some of the traditional Saudi Arabian dancing that happened. And did you drink any of the Arabic coffee? Did you drink any of that?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, there are plenty of dates as well. I mean, the F1 car that went round the IFRA's got an oval road around it, and obviously it's a private area. They raced that around it, and I think there were about 30 supercars that went round in convoy.
Yeah,
it was off the scale, really. We didn't expect anything like that. The students absolutely loved it. We can't do that in Singapore. We're going to be on Resort World Sentosa. It's not possible. But they did have also, some historic F1 cars on display as well under the main screen, and a host of simulators for the kids to have a lot of fun with. So it was brilliant, and plenty of coverage on social media for those that haven't seen it yet. So go and take a look. Saudi seems to be on a roll. We'll have more hubs being set up there. Probably an even bigger and better event next year, Tom. Probably better get your suitcase packed for that one as well. But then, of course, we had the Greek F1 in Schools primary class national final as well, and that was a super event. Incredible cars, and they're starting a journey, hopefully, that will take them through into secondary school, and we'll see these teams maybe evolving into teams that can attend the World Finals in future years. So another country. And we were looking also to have Audrey Zamora from CHS Lightning went to a girls on track event at BTCC Snetterton race weekend, courtesy of Bristol Street Motors, and Accelerate Motorsport. So it was fantastic to have that exposure for our students that don't often get to go and see these events. And coming up soon, we've got Silverstone, so hopefully we'll see our 4, 3, 2, and 1 teams there over that weekend.
Yeah, she definitely stood out at in Birmingham, the national finals earlier this year, and her team in general. You couldn't not see their yellow outfit of the whole team. It's brilliant. So I look forward to seeing them in the Worlds, and well done to Audrey and taking that opportunity. However, Andrew, my bags are always packed for F1 in Schools. You know that. They're always packed. But the UAE national final just happened. I would have loved to have gone. It looked brilliant. But that's something that's new and exciting that's just taken place. And there are, I'm actually going to announce it, if you don't mind, the national champions, Aelion Racing from JAS International School. They were the national champions, and the rookie champions were Ecolite from Horizon International School. So again, just the competitiveness and the outstanding teams really stepping up and developing, and that's going to put a lot of good, healthy competition back into the competition.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the UAE have been running the program now for, 14 years. They've got a brand new F1 in Schools experience centre that's opened up, which is above the grandstand on turn 5, where, if you remember, Verstappen overtook Lewis Hamilton. So that's a permanent fixture, permanent setup that students can go for 52 weeks of the year, test the cars, obviously get them designed and made there as well. It's a brilliant experience for the students, and it's brand new. So that will lead to hopefully more and more teams right across the UAE going and experience the YAS in Schools setup there, which is phenomenal. We're really excited about that. That's something that we hope that we can take to other circuits around the world. We do have quite a number of circuits that host their national finals there. But in terms of a permanent setup for students to go and learn STEM and understand motorsport in a more accessible role, that's kind of what they're doing at YAS. Very exciting stuff.
Yeah, and of course, I'm just seeing on a note here in front of me, F1 in Schools Italy concludes first season of regionals. Well, that is very exciting indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a big step forward for us. I mean, Italy's been involved a little bit with F1 in Schools, not to the extent it is now over the last 2 or 3 years. Obviously, COVID put the brakes on it, but now we've got the Delara Foundation actually hosting a regional final, And Delara are famous in motorsport, building chassis for many different series, and they've also got an operation in North America. So Nelson Vale, head of international operations, went out there and again saw some phenomenal cars, some great presentations, and we welcome them to the F1 in Schools international group of countries that are taking part in the program. So really, really good to see them on board. So we just keep seeing more and more countries joining the fray. Fantastic.
And I imagine, and I know this is a bit stereotypical, but I imagine a lot of the cars are painted in a very deep red color to follow in the footsteps of Ferrari in some respects. And thinking of that color, I'm moving on to Spain. F1 in Schools, Spain. They attend this. I think I'm pretty sure I'm right. You can correct me. They actually got to attend the Spanish Grand Prix, which was only a few weeks ago.
Yeah, there was a setup there in the fan zone, which was fabulous for us to promote F1 in Schools. The team came along and they had 2-3 days in the paddock, which was phenomenal. So that was hosted by the F1 in Schools, Spain people who run the program. And yeah, great to see them get started. So, we've now got France, Spain, Italy, all joining the international community. And it's great to see. I mean, Italy, as you know, got a massive motorsport heritage. So great at long last to get them on board.
And finally, Andrew, I look at my notes in front of me, and this is the one that's been in my calendar for a little while now. The UK National Finals. Wow. It feels like it was only January, but we've got another UK National Final, and it's happening in a city close to your heart, of course, Leeds. I cannot wait for it. It's going to be brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it will. It's just down the road from the famous Leeds United Football Club, and I had to get that one in, Tom. And it'll be at Leeds University, and it will be a full, 3-day event, 2 days for secondary, 1 day for primary. And really what we've done here is put this extra national final in to play catch-up from the fallout from COVID. So we did, obviously, the one at Autosport International. Now we've got this event, and then we'll be back into our normal calendar year after year with the finals in March or April in 2024. So, yeah, it'll be a good event, well attended. We're going to have an interesting time there. It's going to be, very close to our offices here. So everybody will be able to get a chance to go over and see what F1 in Schools is all about.
Well, this is going to be a lot of fun. And I can confirm, you heard him earlier on in the podcast, Sam Chapman is going to be working alongside me at that UK National Finals in Leeds. So it's going to be great to have him on board. So if you have been listening to the podcast and you are attending the UK National Finals, then if you've got any more questions for him, you'll be able to fire them across, as you can do for Mr. Andrew Denford. Well, Andrew, that wraps up F1 in Schools news for this. Was there anything else, Mr. Andrew?
No, I think that's it, really. I've got to go and pack my bags for Singapore. It's all coming together, put it that way. We've just kind of finalised the coaches, which is something that sounds simple, but it's not. There's a lot of people arriving, a lot of students from all over the world. We're going to put on a great show. Pressure's on, but we'll hopefully rise to the top and make it a wonderful occasion.
Well, it's going to be brilliant. And I have to say, I was just clearing in my head, we're not getting a coach to Singapore, are we, from the UK? No, good. Just thought I'd double check for everyone and end on a bit of fun. That is it for The Main Straight, episode 9, titled Reunited. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you follow us on all of the socials, which are at F1 in Schools HQ. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcast. That's it for this month's episode. We'll catch you next month. Till then, take care.